imagine. Today, as you know, is my 38th birthday. And what I think is interesting is to sort of chronicle this day. What does a man look like on his 38th birthday? And what I was thinking is, and it totally doesn't matter at all, but everybody in their DNA has certain things that just kind of work to their advantage. I mean, certain guys, when they work out, their arms just get bigger that much more naturally, or maybe their calves or whatever part of the body they're working out. Certain parts really have better effects when they're working out. It can go for so many things with your DNA. Certain problems certain men will have that others never will. One thing I'm happy about is that I do not have a small nose. And even Rainn Wilson, who's Dwight on The Office, in one of the episodes he says, "I am the perfect man, except for my nose. My nose is too small." I'm very happy that I don't have a small nose. I have a good sized nose, a perfect sized nose. I'm very happy about the size of my nose. I never have to think, man, my nose is small. I don't have to think about that. One thing I don't have to worry about, gray hair, right? I thought that's interesting to look in the mirror and think, okay, I'm nearly 40 now, I'm 38 today, but I don't have to dye my hair. So I think that's convenient and random. I mean, granted, there's all these other ways that all of us have certain things that we kind of win the lottery on genetics, and then there's others where we don't, And one of my mottos, of course, on this channel especially, is you work with what you got. Be grateful for what you have. Don't envy what you don't have. Just work with what you got. Don't spend a lot of time, energy, and money worrying about things you can't control. Just focus on things you can control without having to spend much time, energy, and money. But one thing I haven't had to worry about so far is going gray prematurely. My hair is still this color. And what's interesting is now that I am 30, and I'm like, wow, there's people even in their 20s who have gray hair, and that's something they have to figure out. Well, am I going to start dyeing my hair? But it's like, at this rate, by the time I do start graying, I won't be graying young because, man, I'm almost 40. So if I start graying 10 years from now when I'm almost 50, it would make more sense. Now, with that being said, what's interesting is, and you may not be able to tell too, yeah, there we go. I mean, what's funny is, this is something I've observed, is even if a man doesn't start graying until later in life, you can't hide this unless you dye it. Because it's funny, because in my late 20s, I started seeing like dark red hair, thinking, okay, well, I know I've got some British DNA in there. I guess it comes from there. And then I said, and I've also got some blonde hairs. That's interesting. And then early 30s, like, it's turning white. And then now it's like, it's just straight up like gray in my beard. Not a whole lot, not like all in it, but definitely right in here. And I've noticed that with any man, once he turns 35, especially, if he doesn't have gray in his beard, like right here especially, then he's dyeing it. Like, there's no way around that. Even if you don't go gray up here, you're going to at least have those. I've yet to see an exception to that. I'm sure there are people that don't go gray here. And it is interesting because my grandfather on my mom's side, that was of Italian descent, Spanish, Jewish, Middle Eastern, that part, my whole life I knew him. He had basically white hair. I never knew him any other way. But my grandma, his wife, it was Mexican. She passed away a couple years ago, and long black hair and a few gray hairs you could see in it. But she was like 80. She was in her early 80s when she passed away. So it's interesting how that works with hair. And by the way, I do recognize that there's no such thing as gray hair. It's white hair, and mixed into whatever color hair, it has the appearance of gray. It's actually not. It's white hair. But for me personally, it went from black, my beard, it went from black to dark red to a lighter red to blonde to like a platinum blonde, and then to the white color. So I just think that's interesting. Certain men have to worry about going gray young. I can say at this point, I will have never worried about that because I'm not young enough anymore to go gray early. If I go gray now, it's going to make more sense. And I think of how many male actors in Hollywood, specifically, they are having to dye their hair to maintain whatever look they're having. Like Paul Rudd, he's in his 50s now. Does he dye his hair? I don't know. And I've seen certain men who you'll see them on the Tonight Show, whatever, and you'll see all the gray. But then the next movie, they have to dye their hair back for the role. How many of them are dyeing their hair? But for me, I can be 38, and that's at least one thing I don't have to worry about. And granted, something I do have to worry about, which is very common, is actually despite how healthy I eat and how much I exercise and work out and all that stuff, it's still a struggle just to maintain a 32 size waist. So, I didn't win the lottery on that. But gray hairs, at least for now, I can say I will have never had to worry about going gray early. Because again, if I go gray starting now, I'm the right age to be having gray hair. But just take another look. I mean, and I understand my hair is shorter on the sides, and that's tend to where there often is more gray right in here. So I could understand how it would, it's cut out, if anything. And I do have some kind of weird like birthmark or something there that looks like it might be gray, but it's just the way the hair is. Like, I think it grows in the opposite way right there. But as far as gray hair, that's something I won the lottery on. But it's not like I'm, oh, look at me, I'm awesome because I don't have gray hair. It's like, no, but that's balanced by all these other things that, again, you focus on what you can control, you're grateful for what you have, and you don't worry about what you don't have. It's not, a man's identity is not comparing himself to others. It's a matter of him knowing who he is and not being insecure to where he is comparing himself. Because that's insecurity. When you're comparing yourself to others, it means you don't feel that you are enough. And you have to think, well, if I had what that person had and that person, then I'd be a complete man. No, but a confident man thinks, this is who I am, I'll do the best with what I got, and I'm not worried about what they have that I don't have. Granted, there are certain things I can change, and I like to become like that guy, and I like what they're doing, and I want to become like them. But as far as something silly like your DNA that you can't actually control, no. You work with what you got. I'm Nick Shell. Today is my 38th birthday, and your comments belong right here.